Alright, we're gonna watch Something Sinister. Horrors of a Forgotten Cult Family. Cannot read today.
To say I'm chronically online might be
Nah, I totally get you, Phil.
I scroll past hundreds.
I feel like you know the most of. I feel like you know the most about all of that stuff. Bye, Phil. So good to see you. I miss you.
And somehow
let's see.
I always manage to find one that leaves me speechless. Police officers react after seeing the crime scene inside a house in the Houston suburb of Clear Lake City. Attached is the following.
Thank you, Phil.
2 officers seemingly scarred by what they have just.
Phil, we should do a collab one day where we just like watch body cam videos. That would be so fun.
The home. In the comments
then we can get Phil input.
Post are a number of individuals claiming to have lived in the same neighborhood where the aforementioned crime took place. Posts like this can pique morbid curiosity and make the mind wander. What happened inside the house? What could have been so disturbing to make these 2 officers react in such a manner? The more I read through articles and watched videos on the subject, the more I came to realize just how quickly this picturesque family seemingly changed overnight.
The new mother?
Hello.
Mother for the 5th time?
This is the woman police officers met at the door of the home when they arrived that day. But prior to this prison interview, no one in this woman's family, none of the news stories covering the crime, could have ever guessed that darker forces might have been at play.
What the hell? What the?
Before we get too far into the video, I need to tell you that there are victims of identity theft every single day.
Aura, is it Aura?
And I'm not just talking about celebrities or household names. I'm talking about people like you, people like me. There's something referred to as people search sites. Now, these are websites that basically collect your personal information. This is things like your date of birth,
all the scam callers?
Your financial information, your education, personal interests. And these sites are pretty easy to find. And just out of curiosity, I actually searched my own name, and I was kind of shocked at the amount of information there is out there on me. It turns out these people search sites gather your information from data brokers. Now, these are basically people that grab your information and sell it to bigger corporations. And if this bothers you like it bothers me, I have a solution.
Aura,
Thanks
is it
to
Aura?
today's video partner, Incogni,
no, it's
you are now able to stop these data brokers from stealing your information.
I got it wrong.
Incogni contacts hundreds of data brokers on your behalf and offers custom removals for other sites. This custom removal feature basically means that you can send Incogni a direct link to a website that is exposing your information, and their privacy experts will get it removed. On top of this, Incogni offers ongoing protection. So what often happens is, some of your information on a website might be deleted or erased, but as time goes on, it can reappear on there. By choosing Incogni, you ensure that these repeated removals remain consistent. By visiting the exclusive
Have any of you guys ever tried
below at
Incogni or Aura, like those websites?
/something-sinister, you can get 60% off your annual plan.
Damn!
Not to mention, your first 30 days are completely risk-free. Thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring this video, and let's continue the story. The year is 2001. For many, the ball drop in celebration triggers a reset button. Going forward from here, things will be different. People pledge to diet and exercise, better themselves, and try to live a life of humility. One of these individuals was Andrea Yates.
Andrew Yates?
Andrea was no stranger to setting goals in an effort to better herself. In high school, she was the valedictorian of her graduating class. She would later meet her husband, a man named Russell, but more commonly referred to as Rusty. As far as society was concerned, Andrea was making all the right steps in order to live a happy and successful life. But despite this, something was bubbling beneath the surface. Unbeknownst to many, Andrea had been struggling with mental health issues. At the time her first child was born, she experienced postpartum depression.
Dude, oh my god. I was like, yeah, you ever just like sit there and think about your future, chat? I was like sitting there and thinking, I was like, I like, do I want to have kids in the future? And I was like, I don't know, dude. Things like this scare me. Like, postpartum depression is insane. It could be really insane, dude. And there's just so many like cons, and I'm like, I don't know if that life's for me, dude.
Postpartum would return each time
I don't know if that life's for me. Kids are also really fucking expensive. They're really expensive. Like, dude, I can barely take care of myself in this economy. What are you talking about?
With every child, it became more intense. Andrea and Rusty had a total of 5 children together.
Dude, and it's so sad when, like, you know, these women don't receive the help they need when they're dealing with postpartum depression, and like everyone puts pressure on them and expects them to do everything for the kids and take care of everything at home. And I hate when people don't put equally as much pressure on the father to help, because, dude, I feel like that exacerbates that, like, makes it so much worse for these women dealing with this, that they have to, like, they're expected to do so much. And you know,
old photographs show
no one really cares about you after you have the kid, and all the focus is on the kid.
Something is off. I'm
Horrible.
sure this doesn't come as much of a...
Kids are like upwards of 1 million over the first 18 years or something like that. I don't got that type of money, bro.
Surprise, but in the late 90s and early 2000s,
I could never be a parent. It sounds so stressful. Dude, that's what I'm saying, especially right now in this economy. Fuck no. I'd rather travel.
Still developing.
I'd rather travel the
world.
world.
1996 saw the Mental Health Parity Act, which finally allowed mental health care to be covered under health insurance. The societal stigma around speaking about mental health was still enough to keep many quiet.
Crazy that was like
in the suburbs of
not
Clear
always
Lake
a thing.
City, Houston, Andrea Yates was fighting a silent battle. By the time Andrea and Russell had their 4th child, Andrea was prescribed a medication to help offset her depression. And despite a doctor's written warning that another pregnancy could lead to future psychotic depression, Andrea and Rusty welcomed their 5th and final child at the start of 2001. In many recovered home videos,
I could never have that many. Oh my god.
Happy and smiling while playing with her children. Rusty recalls that Andrea was at her best when she was with the children, and he too took pride in being a parent. But it wouldn't be long before this family would vanish. Family and friends no longer heard from Andrea as much after the birth of their 4th child. By then, Andrea's mental state was on the verge of collapse. According to Rusty, it wasn't out of the ordinary for him to come home from work only to find Andrea staring blankly at one of the walls in the house.
That's so sad, dude.
Uncertain of how to best support his wife, the family...
And like, shit like this, when it goes untreated, I feel like it's like you're slowly brewing and cooking something horrible. That's gonna happen.
Family naturally began to withdraw.
It always ends up
from the
manifesting into something horrible.
Unfortunately,
when it could have been
many
prevented.
of them would never see the children or Andrea again.
Based on the previous U.S. Department agricultural estimates, it could cost anywhere between $241K to $513K to raise a child to age 17, not including college funds. Damn! Crazy.
Prior to their withdrawal from society, Andrea and Rusty...
Imagine how much I could travel over 17 years with that.
were evangelical
I'm sorry.
According to individuals...
Absolutely no shame to people who want to be parents. I think I would love to one day, but definitely not right now.
Andrea and Rusty, they recalled the couple stating
I
that
cannot
they
do that
wanted
right
to
now.
have as many babies as nature allowed.
As many babies as they could.
By 1990s America standards wasn't entirely out of the ordinary. But this idea...
I also feel like a lot of people were having so many more kids, like, back in the day. My fucking grandparents had, like, fucking 13 kids. I have so many aunts and uncles. My parents have so many siblings. And then, like, you know, now I have, like, 2 siblings. Everyone has, like, 1 or 2 siblings, you know, nothing crazy. I don't know. I feel like people back then were having like upwards of like 10 kids, and it was more normalized.
Of having as many kids as
Isn't
possible.
The birth rate going down like everywhere right now?
By someone who entered Andrea and Russell's lives. Someone with dark intentions.
And live obedient to his word, he's going to burn them up.
Religion in America during the 1990s was very interesting. Up until this point, church attendance had been continuing to decline with each passing year. Despite this, megachurch leaders like Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer were still thriving. But both of these individuals had been criticized for being too soft in their congregation and favoring lessons of the goodness of God versus an obedient lifestyle. Other church leaders like Kenneth Copeland and Jesse Duplantis were known for guilting their congregation into heavy tithing and then using that money to buy private jets and big mansions. And while many Christians were content,
people had a tendency to die earlier than we do now. Yeah, dude, that shit was like even more effective than they still had more kids.
One individual saw that what was going on in the church system wasn't okay, and it set out to expose it.
Ooh.
In the 1980s, while studying at Auburn University, Rusty had attended a sermon being conducted by a man named Michael Warrenicki. At the time, Michael was a Christian, but sought to expose the hypocrisy taking place in the modern church. He believed that the world was living in the end times, as referenced in the book of Revelation. As such, he was in constant expectation that Jesus would return for Judgment Day. These teachings captured the attention of Rusty, who...
Those church leaders also said that if you have to choose between paying your tithe or your bills, you should pay your tithe to the church. Horrible. Those are like such predatory churches. I hate it. I hate it. I feel like it's literally a cult, and it's so evil and selfish when they do shit like that.
Quickly became friends with Michael. At the time, Russell had just started dating Andrea and was eager to introduce her to Michael. During one of their early conversations, Michael told the young couple that they were going to hell. Over time, Andrea and Rusty became close with Michael and his wife Rachel, believing that Michael held the answer to eternal life in heaven. It's believed that during this time, Michael had begun to slowly warp the minds of Andrea and Rusty. Michael and Rachel, who also had many children, believed that sending them to school for 8 hours a day could potentially open them up to the evils of the world. As such, Rachel homeschooled the children while Michael went to work.
Would you guys homeschool your children?
This was a lifestyle that the young couple, Andrea and Rusty, would eventually follow. We've seen patterns like this happen before. Couples adopting the lifestyle of a religious leader who they look up to, and having as many children as possible and raising them to adopt the same principles. Life with Grandpa is probably the most popular example of this. A television show created in the 1980s by a religious leader, which intended to twist the minds of its child audience. The unfortunate thing is, these patterns rarely make themselves known before it's too late. This strange 911 call was made by Andrea on June 20th, 2001. In it, a barely lucid Andrea tells the 911 operator that she needs officers to arrive at her house, but she won't disclose exactly why.
Probably had
Police officers,
someone there threatening
to
her?
the scene, were shocked by what they saw.
This morning, what time is it that you got out of bed this morning?
About 8:10.
And who in your household was awake at that time?
My husband, Mary, Luke, and Paul.
And what time does Rusty leave for work?
He left about 9.
And by the time Rusty left, were all your children awake at that time?
Yes.
And Rusty left, and you filled the bathtub with water, is that correct?
Yes.
After you drew the bath water, what was your intent?
Drown the children.
What?
Andrea had drowned each of the children in the bathtub. Rusty had just left for work, going against the instructions of Andrea's therapist at the time that said that she should not be left alone with the children.
In 2002, Andrea Yates stood trial in Houston, charged.
She drowned all of them.
Prosecutors argued Yates carefully planned her actions and knew they were wrong, meeting the legal standard for criminal responsibility under Texas law.
Oh my God.
Many of the initial news reports covering Andrea's story all read the same.
That's so
A mother of 5
bad.
suffers a psychotic break and does the unthinkable. But the more Andrea spoke with detectives following her arrest, they all began to hear Andrea say the same thing.
I was
Andrea
saving them from
believes
hell.
that she was saving her children from eternal torment in hell. During her trials, Andrea confessed to drowning her children, but it wouldn't be until 2006
heck?
when she entered pleas.
Wait, but was this from like the... Do you guys think this is probably her thinking like, or her beliefs with the cult that she's in, that she was raised in?
Not guilty by reason of
Instead
insanity.
of being
This outcome was
postpartum
accepted
depression?
by the court, and Andrea was sent to a low-security mental facility. And for a while, that's how the story ended. Rusty would move on with his life, eventually marrying again. The 5 children lost on that day were remembered as victims of insanity. But then something
5.
changed.
It was 5.
Following the release of court documents, online investigators began taking a closer look into Andrea's case and the possibility that she was being influenced by a religious cult. As it turns out, Andrea and Rusty weren't the only people following in the footsteps of Michael Warrenicki.
I was raised in a doomsday cult that my parents helped start. There was only 3 families in it when it started, and then by the time it ended, there was 3 families in it.
The individual speaking in this clip is a comedian named Moses Storm. Though a lot of Moses's comedy sketches are based around religion and breaking away from it, the truth is, Moses is holding a secret just as Andrea had. Growing up, Moses was one of 5 children. Each of them had been homeschooled by their mother and told that the outside world was evil. At the time, Moses was happy with traveling across the country, visiting new places, and spreading the word of God. Whenever his family would arrive in a new city, they would exit their RV and don neon signs with religious propaganda. The message was eerily similar to one that had been told to Andrea and Rusty.
Bro, these motherfuckers always be outside of conventions. I swear, I've gone to so many conventions and it's... These guys are always outside of the con. And then you'll just see like a random cosplayer like twerking in front of them while someone else is recording them. It's so funny.
At the time, Moses and his family identified as being part of a non-denominational religious sect known as The Way, not to be confused with The Way International. This version of The Way was led by Moses's uncle, Michael Warrenicki. Moses could recall that his mother would often videotape him and his siblings and have them sing worship songs in order to send to Michael, as sort of a way of showcasing that her children were good and obedient. In return, Michael would often send cassette tapes back to them, which contained different lessons to listen to, and on occasion, a newsletter known as The Perilous Times. In the years leading up to June 20th, 2001, Andrea was an avid reader of The Perilous Times. Rusty at the time was very busy with work and had eventually grown apart from religion and Michael. Despite this, he still encouraged Andrea to continue writing to Michael, believing that he might be able to help Andrea with her mental health struggles. These Perilous Times newsletters were authored by Michael himself and were made to spread the message of fire and brimstone to those not seeking Jesus. This was the same Michael who had met with Andrea and Rusty prior to their marriage, the same one who told them that they were going to hell.
What?
Of course, because everyone is going to hell. I shared Jesus with them. Prior to meeting Andrea and Rusty, Michael was busy traveling across the country and spreading his evangelical message.
Oh, hell
his
no.
main target was college
Fuck that guy, he's a
campuses,
creep.
where he would stand on the campus lawn and preach about Jesus to students and professors passing by. It was also around this time when Moses and his family decided to do the same. Moses believes that his mother was aware of Andrea and Rusty and was desperate to be Michael's favorite. The similarity between these three families is quite interesting. All three rejected the idea of the modern church, believing that it was corrupt. All had pledged to have as many children as possible, all of which would grow up to be homeschooled and shielded from the dangerous world
That's crazy.
outside.
What
On top
the heck?
of this, all families packed their many children into an RV and traveled to spread Michael's religious teachings.
Man, thank you
But
for the
the
26
outlier
months.
in the story is Andrea and
Hi,
Rusty.
how are you?
While the other two families found success and happiness in traveling in the RV, it
I miss
became
you.
all too much for Andrea, who had started to show signs of a psychotic break. In an effort to give her life more stability,
Ooh.
Rusty opted to sell the RV and make the move to the Clear Lake City suburbs, the home and final resting place of all of their 5 children.
Damn.
Many
So it was
of the
kinda his fault,
aforementioned
too.
Internet investigators believe that Michael is partially responsible for what happened to Andrea and her children.
Bro, I literally just
Andrea,
said
who
that.
had been
Yeah.
influenced to homeschool after
connecting the
Michael and
dots.
his wife Rachel had become overwhelmed with her duties. Each day, she was confined to the house with all 5 of the children, who she would later describe as ill-mannered and disobedient.
What were you trying to accomplish then when you did take your children's lives?
Maybe in their innocent years, God would take them up.
God would take them up to be in heaven, is that what you mean? All right. And if you had not
Damn.
taken their lives, what did you think would happen to them?
Guess they would have continued stumbling.
And where would they end up?
Hell.
In hell.
Because of their bad behavior, Andrea started to grow worried that her children would grow up to be rebellious against God. She thought that if they were to die as children, they might be pure enough to be accepted into heaven.
What?
The newsletter that Andrea was reading prior to the murders, the Perilous Times, was actually presented
That's like
during her trials.
religious
The belief was
psychosis,
that
bro.
the teachings of Michael, though not directly telling Andrea to do what she
Religious
did,
psychosis.
played a part in her delusions and her belief that her children were going to hell. This is a theory that has been denied by Rusty, who claims that Andrea's relationship with Michael was never really that close. And according to Michael himself, the story is much different.
Really?
All of Michael's social
All right,
media
let's see what his
accounts have
story is.
since been taken down. Believe it or not, he was once very active on Instagram and X, sharing his religious
Crazy.
message and documenting his travels. What still remains, however, is Michael's official website, which he treats as his personal blog. The top of the page reads, "Fighting to bring Jesus' love to all of the world." Through his writings, Michael recalls being a rebellious kid. He would often get into fights and break stuff. According to him, this all stemmed from a place of deep insecurity. Michael didn't have a solid sense of who he was or what his purpose was. This all changed, however, when God revealed himself to Michael during a football game. He recalls being on the field when he looked up and saw a mural of what he refers to as a touchdown Jesus. From that moment on, he dedicated himself to spreading the word of Christ. The further you scroll down this page, you can actually find a section with a brief mention to Rusty and Andrea.
Really?
Here, Michael goes on to say that the media is campaigning against him and his ministry. He believes that Andrea's story was largely exaggerated so that producers could market it as a crazy religious cult story. Michael says that during Andrea's court case, no one had ever reached out to him regarding his involvement in her or Rusty's life, because, as he puts it, he had nothing to do with it. To this day, many individuals on the internet debate whether or not Michael and his teachings are partially to blame for what happened to Andrea.
Yeah,
and
I
her
guess
children.
that makes sense.
While it's clear that Andrea
was
had
following, like, his
issues with mental
religion.
health prior to her ever meeting Michael, many people believe that the trajectory of Andrea's life was forever affected by Michael's ministry. Fortunately for individuals like Moses,
I definitely
they were
could
able
see
to
that-
move on from the religious trauma they
that
suffered
argument.
during childhood. But for others like Rusty, their life will never be the same.
Everybody say goodbye. Bye to the camera.
Damn. That's a crazy video. That was kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie.